Welcome to my first ever video for Red Room Reiki and Readings. My name is Jo. I have not planned for this, I'm just going to wing it. I want to keep these videos short and sweet, a little bit of a bite size so that you can at least, have small snippets of things that you can think about. I never ever declare that I know anything. I am purely just wanting to at least share with you some things that I've learned over the last few years. Each probably video is going to be really different. I'm just going to wing it each week. Hopefully I'll get one out each week. Some days I'll probably be really creative. I'll never have a normal background because I'm actually a house sitter. So I'm house sitting at present. So thank you to the house sitter for her amazing back throw. It's just superb. So what I want to talk about today is a little bit personal. However, what I've done is I've created a module to deal with an emotion. So I want to share it with you. What I invite for you to do is to listen to how your body reacts to when I'm saying things to you. Now, if there's one thing that I ever want to teach any of my clients in the Red Room, is to stop listening to other people as fact and to actually start listening to yourself. What does your body say is the truth to your story? So it's quite a difficult concept when people come to me as a clairvoyant, a psychic, an energy reader. They want me to give them some sort of purpose, some sort of enlightenment, potentially. Really all I want to do is to awaken the client to leave and go, right, I feel more attuned to myself right now. So what is it that I need in my life and which direction do I need to go? So I'm inviting you to listen to your body. It's pretty simple. If your body clenches, probably a really good indication that some frequency that I'm speaking is either needing to be directly moved away from or potentially is an old belief system or an old pattern that you may need to ask yourself if it's really relevant in your life anymore. Now, on the flip side, if your body lights up and you get really excited and you say, well, you know what, I think Jo's slightly off there, but you know what, it kind of resonates. There's a certain frequency in what she's speaking about that I feel like I could take on board. And potentially, maybe even think about, just even for a second when you're doing the dishes. I'm not expecting to blow your mind today with anything, trust me. I'm just wanting to share some info. So a little bit about the background to this module in particular. Now, I have always been known as a very, very enthusiastic witch. I have loved witchcraft since the day I was born. The minute I saw the word from the stories as a child growing up, studied it at university. It's really been a philosophy and a backbone for most of my life, and certainly has created patterns in myself which have led me to here. Now, the last year, I must admit that the word witch and the word craft has started to take a little bit of a back step, and it's not because I'm changing any philosophies or my love for witchcraft has in any way shortened, but I'll be honest with you, I'm removing the title. I'm removing the title so that I can step into a void, and the void being, well, without a title, I have so much more freedom. Because for me, learning is my number one most favorite thing in the world to do. And so really removing the title of witch doesn't mean I'm not still a witch here, because I am, but it also allows me to go and explore much further than ever possible. So all the witches out there, I'm still batting, but I'm just broadening and losing the title so much. To be honest, really, if I had to wear a title, it would be, I don't know. That would be my title. I'm open. I'm open to everything. I'm open to every idea. I'm open to every facet, every philosophy, every theory. I just absolutely love learning. So today I'm just going to show you a little snippet. Now, about 3 years ago, I came out of an extremely toxic environment. And I'm not going to be blaming anyone for that. Certainly a learning experience. One that saw me almost suicide. And I don't like the word depressed. I actually really hate it because people go, oh, you must have been depressed. No, there were so many variables to that at the time. And it really was coming to a time where it came down to where my energy was. Now, at a later date, I'll be discussing energy and how I think it works and the things that I teach in witchcraft classes and how to turn energy per se into magic and how to make spells. So, and once you really get it, you get it. And it's a fascinating topic. However, let's get back to this simple little module today. Now, what I'm about to show you wasn't, well, it was in the darkest, deepest space of my life when I created this module. So even when I'm planning to jump off a cliff, I still was productive, which is the irony of the situation. And sometimes I wonder if I was meant to actually be exactly where I was at that time to create this module. And the model with this is that I've never suffered depression ever again. And it's only been 3 years. But I go back to this model and I revisit it and I remind myself and then I fix it. So there's going to be variables around it. There'll be many questions, I'm sure. And ask me questions at the bottom and I'll try and answer. I won't have all the answers because this kind of came to me through thought process. So what I want to do firstly is thank a man that I saw on YouTube. Now, I do not know who he was or where I saw it, but basically he said that the witch's hat that we place on our heads was actually the symbol for how energy works. So I'm going to draw this. Now, I've gone and got coloured whiteboard text today. I love it. I've got every colour there is. So what I'm going to do, and I know you've got a little bit of distance, but hopefully you'll see what I'm doing. Now, what he's saying is the witch's hat. We'll do a little module there. So for all those who have ever done a little bit of witchcraft or a little bit of energy work will know that we work in clockwise energy. It's kind of like the natural flow. So we work this way. If you ever want to do some negative energy, you go anti-clockwise, right? So I do not say do that. I'm just telling you because I know. Now, so as you would know, witches, we loved circles. Now, if I was going to bet money, and a lot of money, on what really is going to lead the way in the future as far as spiritualism is concerned, or religion is concerned, or the actual why are we here, I will always bet on mathematics, 100%. My third eye agrees, my heart agrees, my base chakra agrees, my gut agrees, my body agrees, my mind agrees. I truly believe that mathematics is the key. And off that, symbols, triangles, circles, squares. I'll be honest, like really when I've started to do a lot of spell work by increasing and putting in symbols, just blows it through the roof. And I'm not a mathematician by any measure. Let me tell you that, I'm not. However, it's just a gut instinct. So basically witches, we love to create circles. It's our way of controlling the environment. The reason I think that witches get a pretty hard reputation is because once you understand how energy works as far as magic, you can actually control the energy around you and potentially a lot of others. I always say to people, there's a reason witches do their spells at midnight. It's because the person or the place or the situation they're targeting is at their lowest ebb. they're more like available to the incoming spell. So just, think about that for a little bit. When you go to bed at night, make sure you're quite protected. And I will do, if you want to, a session on cleansing. So we control our energy. We like to get inside the circle, protect the circle. Everyone pretty much knows this. Now, the way that we see energy or the spell being created as we send it up and out is that it goes like this. And then it shoots out the top. Now, when the man on YouTube, that I do not know his name, explained this to me, or to all of us, as a witch's hat, it suddenly went, oh yeah, no, absolutely, it's a witch's hat. The whole time, it's been there. I mean, it's not a practical hat, is it? I mean, if you're flying a broom, the last thing you want is a big hat on your head. Like, let's be honest. So, however, he explained that, and it was an epiphany moment to me. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Now, while I was quite down in my energies and contemplating and organising my suicide, which I'm not in any way glorifying that. It is just what it was. I thought to myself, you know what? It's like I'm trying everything. I was doing yoga, I was doing every self-help, but I just couldn't get myself out of it. Now, I started thinking about the witch's hat theory. And I thought, wow, it's like I'm wearing my witch's hat upside down. And then I felt a new wave of guilt. Do you know, like, here you are, you've got all this knowledge and you can't even save yourself. So I started thinking about it. So I thought, right, I'm actually wearing an upside down witch's hat. Now that's a terrible, but actually I might even make that a bit bigger. So, take two. So we've got this, right? Bigger witch's hat. And I started to look at it as layers. Now, there is another quite famous model about triangles and the levels. And I do apologise because right now I can't remember quite what that's called. So I'm not stealing that, but I just thought I'd better make reference to it. So I just started to think about the layers in which the witch's hat potentially could have different potencies. And I thought to myself, well, what's happening here is potentially my energy's running anti-clockwise. It's so rebelling and it's so repelling and it's just rejecting everything that I've ever been taught. Nothing is working. It was a full fucking stop, right? My body was going, no more, no more. So what's happened is my body shut down. And I remember the day that I came out of that space. It was almost like half of me had been somewhere else healing. And I woke up one day and I felt whole again. And I was like, oh my God, I'm back. And I really can't explain it better than that. I simply felt like I was back. So now getting back to this. Now I'm going to draw a little black spot down the bottom here. Now let's call this the dark space. And I love darkness, particularly when it's shadow self. So I'm not really meaning dark as evil, but dark as that space. Now, I have used this model for the last couple of years in the Red Room. And quite often when someone sits in front of me, I do gauge where they're at with it. And I know now with interpretation that I'm pretty close. So if I feel that someone's sitting around this energy field, I will probably direct the conversations to getting through some emotional blockages. However, you know, as we go up, people's energies can fluctuate. So you're not just stuck in a level. You can easily go up and down all day. But this is a different level. I'm going to call this the black spot. When we get down here, this is a new game on. And I think for a lot of people potentially that have suffered depression may agree with me with that, and they may not, which is fine. But for me, I know that up until that point, I've got some way of getting back. But before, I didn't. I was stuck down here. And once you get down here, it's incredibly hard to get back up. So what I wanted to say is that I was down here. Now, all I had was one way to go in my mind, and I convinced myself that it was excellent, that finally I could just go to sleep and I didn't have to worry anymore about the pain, and I didn't have to worry about the tiredness and the exhaustion and the pressure. You know, and it's interesting because now as I'm floating back up and I level across here quite often, I can see that I always had the capacity to be back up there. But there's some sort of entrapment here that just sticks you down there. So, you know, at a later stage, please remind me to talk about ways of keeping back up. So I just want to talk now about this. So most people, I feel, sit around here. Most everyday people sit in there. Now, when I was down here, I couldn't see anything. It was like I had blinkers on. I could only see this. But then when I went overseas and I visited all these amazing countries and I was suddenly present again, I was suddenly mindful, because you've got to be when you're traveling. You've got to be on your toes all the time. You've got to be really consciously aware of what's around you. You cannot sit inside your head when you're traveling. You have to be aware. You've got to be grounded, and this has to be honing on danger, honing in on fun. And you're learning. Things are coming at you constantly. New concepts, new ideas, new languages, new money, so it's a really amazing way to get out of it. So you are so far away from this when you're traveling. And when I was traveling, I thought to myself, if only I had moved my blinkers. And then I wondered about what the blinkers were. And you know what? It's potential, because you've always got the same amount of potential, surely, when your blinkers are here or when they're here. So I've applied it to this module. So as you can see up here, I don't think I've ever met anyone at the top here. Do you know that frequency of people that you just think, oh my golly gosh, these people are incredible. Look at the energy, look at the productivity, or look at the humbleness, look at the quietness. Do you know, what does this look like up here? Could you imagine a world where we all had a frequency of that top level? I mean, it blows my mind as a writer, particularly because I'm a dark fantasy fiction writer. I mean, it just endless possibilities of what that looks like. Now, because to be honest, I think most of us are probably running around this space, and I'm only saying that as a guide. So I want to get back to here. Sorry, I'm just changing my pen. Because I like it. So what we've got here, and I'm only going to put a little square box around it. The box could be as wide and huge, or it could be beyond infinity, it could be forever. I don't know how big your potential gets, but I certainly know that there is so many endless possibilities. So I'm just going to put a little square around it so you get it. So pink square. The pink square is your potential for happiness, for success, for contentment, and all those things. And I don't want to get in the argument of what is happiness and what is contentment, because everyone's it varies, and there's millions of people out there with much better ideas than me about it. But I just want to say that at the time when I was so low and I was so stuck in this focused small space, I actually potentially had the most amount of potential. And I don't know if that most amount of potential is what comes in and suffocates you. Potentially your body is just getting so suffocated by this potential. Do you know, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe you're so far away from where you're meant to be. But then on the flip side, I think in hindsight, I was exactly where I was meant to be. So I just want to bring that to you. And I teach this in class. I teach it if you know yourself and where you fluctuate, and when you start to go down your level, if you even conceptualize it and know, oh, maybe I've just dropped a level. This is where I need to pick up on that, not here. This is where you might go, you know what, I'm not sleeping. And not only am I not sleeping, but I'm not eating well. And I'm also not exercising. And I'm also starting to have some thoughts. And I'm also internalizing a little bit. Is this a hermit moment where I need to sit back and rest and look after myself? Or is this something else? So you need to constantly be asking your body what's going on with it. So you want to get used to this. Now, I guarantee you, right, I will promise you, right, I'm going to make a promise that at this level, this is where that word good luck comes in. Because as soon as I start to get up here, I just have the most brilliant days. I get offers everywhere. I live as a house sitter. My life revolves around other people. I have handballed all my control over where I sleep at night. And I've gone, you know what? We'll see how that works. So I'm really challenging myself right now to at least flow, keep up the abundance, keep going. I just want a really simple life, and I want to travel a lot. So I've created and manifested this lifestyle. But it's at, the responsibility and potentially the control of another person. And particularly with the coronavirus right now, I have just lost potentially a 10-week stay in Victoria, and also because of the panic, I lost a month in a place near Brighton in the UK. So I sat there and went, well, it is what it is, but I'm going to have to adapt and change to that flow. Now, I didn't get stuck in the, what's going to happen? I'm frightened, because that would be bringing me down. What I thought is keep here, and something amazing will come along, and you'll be exactly where you're meant to be, and you'll learn what you need to learn. So, these are the conversations that I have with myself now. Unfortunately, if we were isolated, now I'm a single woman, and I do like being single because I potentially could be a control freak, or potentially I just really love not being with someone else. I find it really taxing, to be honest, to be with another person. I find my creativity drops. I find my imagination drops. I find that my thoughts drop. I find that I am running behind them to some degree rather than running beside them. And that could be just potentially the pathway that's occurred, or that it's leading to meeting someone potentially who also runs the same as me. But either I'm quite happy with that, because I do love my own company. So I just want you to know it is hard if you're living with somebody else and you've got children. This is going to be a harder model for you to actually keep on top of. So you really probably need to strategize if you find that this resonates with you. So if you find okay, if I just apply this, so you get to this and you start to come down here, maybe it's time to teach your children some boundaries. Do you know what? How about we all stop right now and we learn some boundaries? Because I pretty much, boundaries are one of the things that people find the hardest to implement. And I think probably because most of the time we don't know what our boundaries are. So it's hard to implement or ask of boundaries if you yourself don't know what your boundaries are. So, what I would suggest there, right, for me personally, finding my boundaries is that I've had two opposing energies in my life at all times. So, and I haven't wanted that. It's just that in reflection, I see that this is how it's been. And I'll grab another color. So this is the orange. So really, I'm just going to wipe it out. So, and also if you see this too as different conversations and different perspectives, people are patterns. We are patterns. And the more that you learn your own patterns, the more you're able to change that around a little bit. So just be aware there's so many variables with this, and just let your imagination flow. I mean, what's your conversations here when your conversations are here? And what does these conversations mean? And if you're having conversations with people here, and this is all you're involved in, then how are you ever going to have conversations here? So you do probably need to get out, turn the TV off, put a random podcast on, read a different type of book, go and see some art, challenge your brain to different conversations and see where that goes. Because I promise you, I do it all the time, and just the influx of beauty in my life now, because the conversations are happening all the time with more beautiful, innovative, intuitive, creative people. So I'm so blessed to have these people in my life. Sometimes I just sit there and I say nothing because I'm so intimidated and I'm really not sure what to say because I'm frightened I'm going to look like a fool. And then I leave and I just realize that they've turned on every node and little receptors in my brain. And then the next thing I know, I'm writing better. So you really need to go out and kind of feast on knowledge as much as you can. That is what my heart chakra wants you to do. So I'm going to come over here and talk about the two opposing beautiful sides of conversations. So I'm going to put a little line down there. I'm not always black and white, and I don't fall for that, but sometimes it's just easier to explain stuff. So over here, I'm going to call this, let's call these guys the beautiful circles. They have this flow and they've got this energy. These are the people that I surround myself with mostly. They look after my soul, they look after my brain, they look after my imagination, they look after my heart, they're there for me, they're loyal, they're just the bee's knees of humans. Over here, let's call these the squares. So these people are in boxes. This is how it is. This is what it's like. This is where I live in fear. So the square people are just as important, I think, as the round people. The reason being is that if the square comes in and it absolutely dominates my energies, you know, you're abused at the supermarket, you're attacked in a relationship, you know, like you're being pressured at work, you're being micromanaged, you know, you're dealing with these old concepts, you're dealing with like small-minded, potentially fixed human beings that are pressing on you this side, right? And they're the people that, I mean, I call them kind of energy trolls, but they've got a job to do. You know, and we don't have to make excuses or even think about why it is that they are like they are, right? Because they're probably perfectly attuned to what their vibration is. On the flip side, then you've got these amazing people that you don't even need to explain that day to. They're just there and they're filling you up. So these people are loving you and they're giving you the good food. They're giving you the beautiful food. These guys are trying to shove the bad food down. So what you do is you learn to have conversations with both. And you also learn boundaries. Stop. The reason I'm not going to be putting up with you and speaking to me like that is because on this side I have these amazing human beings that can communicate with me. And, you know, and they really want to see me flourish and be beneficial. And then you can come back to, they'll react because, you know, people that benefit from boundaries don't like it when you change boundaries, but try and be the person that has boundaries. So if you don't even, you know, and values, you know, that's one of those things I have on so many occasions just allowed the energy of the room to flow and navigate, but then didn't realize at the same token that boundaries were being broken. And then later on, your shadow self, which is kind of your best mate, is going, you know what, they didn't treat you very well. And you know what, they were totally disrespectful. And you can start to get a little bit angry about that because you want to fight back because everything's about feeling empowered. And disempowerment's extremely uncomfortable. So I've nearly talked for 30 minutes. I apologize. I was only meant to do 2 minutes. I swear it was just 2 minutes. So if you're still listening, you're bloody legends. So I'll knock this off now and I'll stop it and wrap it up. I've got lots of things I'd love to talk about, lots of topics to discuss. But if you've got some things that you'd like me to have a quick squiz at, or at least like what do I think about it, I'm more than happy to do a video on that a bit later. So thank you so much for listening to this. You know, you may just have thought that was the biggest crock of shit and you've wasted 30 minutes of your life, and I apologize. But you know, even if you took a little snippet away from that and gone and started to listen to maybe your own frequencies. I know that I speak differently to a lot of people. So it could be nice just to hear someone who speaks like me speak to you. So lots of blessings anyway. And thank you so much. And I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to have to now figure out how to put this on YouTube and then put it onto Facebook. So I'm learning. Lots and lots and lots of love. I was about to turn it off there. I've actually got this now because I'm such a professional. Okay, bye.